So this is how your work should look now. You can see that there's no gaps. The bird is coming along nicely. And now we're going to be working on the 20th row. And I just want to show you the back too. So here's the back. You can see some of the loose yarn ends. I don't have any long loose yarn ends that I need to move forward. So I'm not wasting any of the yarn pieces. And now we're going to start on the 20th row. So we're going to look at the graph. And on the graph, it looks like you have the same number of white blocks as the previous row. So go ahead and bring up the correct number of white loops that correspond with the graph. So now I have the right number of white loops onto the crochet hook, and I'm going to take the dark brown, which is the next loop that I need, and just gently give it a little bit of a tug, and then bring up a loop. And then I'm going to double check my graph. So on 20, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the red. And then all of the previous row dark colors lined up to form a 6 block, kind of like a Lego block. So again, I'm going to gently tug on the red. Bring up a loop. Then I'm going to bring up a loop until I get to the dark brown, because I remember that they lined up with the previous row. Then I drop the red, pick up the brown, kind of give it a gentle tug so there's no gaps. And then I'm going to look at the graph again. So I have the graph in front of me, and I'm just going to keep drawing up what I need. So now I need 2 red. And I need 1 of the dark brown, or actually the black. So now I need the black color. It lines up with the previous row's black colored yarn. Then I need 1 red and then 2 of the dark brown, just like the previous row. So you can see how I'm bringing up the color loops. And then just giving a gentle tug to make sure that the stitches aren't far apart and that they're equal distance apart. Try to as much as possible. So now, let me just look at the graph closer. So we finished up to here, but now we need the emerald green for the leaf, and then the branch, and then you have 4 red. So I'm going to bring up the emerald green. Here's my emerald green. Just bring up a loop, and then I'm going to tie a knot on the back with the previous colored yarn. Just tie that up. Then you can take and drop the emerald green, and then you need 1 of the branch colors. I'm going to bring up the branch colored yarn, and then I need 4 of the red. So it's just like you're painting, making a painting with your yarn, so you don't have a lot of the mess with paints. You do have a little bit of where the yarn comes together, but if it gets too tangled, all you do is just cut the skein and then undo it. It's real easy. And what I mean by that Let me just show you. So I have 4 of the red. So say you want your red to get a little bit more untangled. This red is still attached to my skein of yarn. So I can just take and cut the yarn from the skein. I always leave a little bit of a length so I have enough to work with as I Tunisian crochet. And then you can take, and this is why I don't like to use bobbins too, but bobbins work for some people. I can just take and pull the yarn through, and then it's free. So it's real simple. That's why I like this method. It's quick, and I just like the way that it's a lot easier and doesn't get as tangled as easily. So now you can see that I did the 4 red. So now I need 2 white and then 2 of the emerald. So I'm going to bring up 2 white. And then I'm not going to stretch my emerald green. And then with the emerald green, you're going to need some emerald green for here and then some for this side. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my emerald green. I'm going to leave a little bit to work with on that side for that part of the leaf. And then I'm going to bring up a new yarn that's still attached to the skein for where I want to start the other portion of the leaf. So you needed 2 white, and then you're going to bring up the emerald green. So it's that easy. You'll get you just have to practice, and then once you practice, you'll get used to how to color change and how to make your stitches, and you'll just get better at it. So there's 1. I need 2. And then that's real close to the white, the previous white color, so I can just bring it over and then bring up the rest with the white colored yarn. So I'm going to show you how I color change back with this row. But I'm not going to count. But you'll be counting on your way back. And I'm just counting to myself. Finding my green. Here it is. Oop, nope. Here it is. And then my dark brown. Then the red. So here, the red, then the black, and then you need 2 of the red. Make sure you don't grab a loose yarn end. You want the main skein color, or it might be running out at that point. Yeah, I'm getting close to running out, so that's what it is there, but I think I can make it through just 1. So I'm going to bring in my red color. I'm just going to make sure I don't have any previous red, which I don't. So I'm going to bring in the new color of red to find the end. Here it is. So this is the adding the color on the way back. So I'm going to bring it through both loops. And then I'm going to set it down and then tie to the loose yarn end where I was running out. Then I need the brown color, the dark brown. So I'm going to find my dark brown. And then I'm going to change back to the red. And then the dark brown again. And then the white. And then this will finish up row 20. And then we're ready to start row 21. So now you should be able to work up to row 24. Go ahead and finish row 24 up to 25, row 25, and then I'll work row 25 with you. So here I just wanted to show you a close-up of how the design is looking, as well as how I kind of pulled the yarn apart. So you see how easy it is to untangle. You just pull on one of the strands and then it brings it from the rest of the strands of yarn. So it just makes it easier, I think. And like I said, some people use little bobbins, they wrap them around, but I tried that and I found like it was just harder, took more time for me. So for me, this is much quicker. So I'm on row 23 and I just wanted to point something out to you. Sometimes when you have a row of a different color next to another row of a different color, you may notice that sometimes you'll get a little bit of a gap and you may have difficulty keeping that gap together. So mine's being kept together fine, but I wanted to show you this trick that I use. If I notice that it is starting to show a little bit of a hole or a gap, all you have to do is just take, even though you may have enough yarn, you can take and you're going to have one of them not attached to the skein, because you're just going to take and tie a knot. So this one's attached to the skein, so I'm just going to tie a knot. And then what that does is it holds the work together at that point. So here you can see that it's going to be more sturdier. It's not going to pull apart as you're moving up to the next row. So, but if you do that, just make sure that you don't miss the vertical stitch. See how it went at a little bit of an angle? You don't want to miss the stitch as you bring up your loop. So make sure that you still bring up the loop in the proper stitch. And then here you can see how here's a similar situation where the red, and normally I'll just take and give it a gentle tug and it brings it all together. But if you notice that you're having difficulties, you can just take, like I said, take that color and the previous color and just tie a knot. Just a gentle knot to keep it together as you're finishing your rows. So that's just a little trick I wanted to show you. So this is how my work looks so far. It's looking good. The sides are nice and straight. And I really like how these clips help to hold the bottom. So I have those still in place. And now you should be on row 25. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to crochet, use Tunisian crochet to make row 25 with you. So one of the reasons why I chose row 25 is because if you look at the graph, we have the same number of the white loops, so go ahead and pull up your white loops, but then we have the black for the bird's face. So go ahead and pull up the white loops for row 25 and then I'll join you with the black loops. So now I have the 10 loops of the white on my crochet hook, and we're not going to need any more of the dark brown. So that was our last dark brown. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and we're going to join the black. But over here we had black yarn, and we're not going to need any more of the black yarn either down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my work over, and where the black yarn is, I'm going to go ahead and cut the black yarn because I'm not going to need it over here. And you're going to want to leave a little bit of a loose yarn end for tying a knot. So don't worry about tying a knot right now. You can tie it if you have a loose yarn end close by, but I'm going to tie it when I'm using my Tunisian crochet across. You just don't forget that you have that there, that you need to tie off the black, and then you're going to take the black yarn that you had, because you don't want to waste it, and then you can just join it right where you need the black yarn. So over here, remember, you want to gently pull on the brown yarn to bring it closer together. Looks like I tied it to the red yarn already. So I'm going to see how that will turn out, if I'm able to pull it enough. It looks like I am. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up a loop with my black yarn, and then I'm going to tie a knot to the white yarn, and that will pull it close, the stitch close, like I want it to. And then I'll take the brown yarn and go ahead and cut the brown yarn, leaving a little bit of a loose yarn end. And then I'm going to save the brown, well, I'm almost done anyway, so that's not long enough to use. I'm just going to use that in my spare jar. I usually keep my loose yarn ends in a spare jar close by. So I'm going to go ahead and just tie a knot with that brown too. And that just makes it nice and secure. So now I have the black yarn. So I'm going to look at the graph. And I need a total of 1, 2, 3, 6 of the black colored yarn loops. So I'm going to bring up 6. So I don't have any more of the red at this point, but if you did, you would make sure that that gap, that you closed the gap there. Just give it a gentle tug. So this is my second loop, third loop, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So now I'm going to look at the graph again, and I have the 6, and then I need 1 of the red, 2 of the dark brown, and then 3 red. So 1 red loop. I'm going to have to bring in another red because I don't have any more red, but I'll double check. You want to double check and see if you don't have any extra colors down lower, and I don't. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring in some more red. And then tie a knot. And then I need 2 of the dark brown. Make sure I don't have a gap. I don't have a gap there. 2 of the dark brown, and then I need 2 red and then 2 dark brown. And then I have a dark brown on this side too, so I'm just going to use that. And then I'm going to look at my graph again. So now I need 4 of the green, 4, 1, 2, 1. And I have my green right here. Give a gentle tug. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 'Here's 1 of the white. Two of the green, and then 1 white, and then I'm going to look at my graph again. So there's 4, 1, 2, 1, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green before I switch back to the white. So that's another way you can check too, is if your numbers don't match up on the graph. Looks like I have a little knot on my yarn. I'll just leave it. Let's see if I can get it to blend in on the back. Yeah. So I'll just let that knot blend in on the back. So I have 5 of the green. Now I'm going to double check how many white. So I should have 3 left. And I actually have 4, so I'm going to double check mine and see where I had the error. Okay, so I found my error. I was supposed to do 3 red back here, so I'm going to show you how I undo that. So right here, I was supposed to make 3 red, so that was my error. So I'm going to undo. So you just bring your hook, see if I can get into the camera view, just bring the hook out to where the error was. And then you can just pull the yarn loops. Okay, so here was where the error was. So I'm just going to pull the yarn out. Okay, so now I need another red. So that was 3 red, and then 2 of the dark brown. So that's a perfect example of how it didn't line up, so I knew something that I made an error on this row. So now I need 4 of the emerald green. I need 1 of the white. Two of the emerald green. 1 of the white, five of the emerald green, there's that knot again, and it's going to fall on the back, so it's okay. And then I have 3 of the white left, which is exactly what I ended up with, which is where I should have been. So I know I made the row correctly, and then to double check, I'll count on the way back. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not going to count out loud, but I'm going to be color changing on the way back. So again, you yarn over and go through 1 for the first, and then you yarn over and go through 2. So now I have 1 white, 1 green. I'm going to drop to the green. I'm almost out of the green, it looks like. See how far I can make it. So that looks like as far as I'm going to make it with the green. So now I'm going to go ahead and I have a color change to the white. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot with the green because it's done. And then I'm ready for another color change. So I'm going to bring in more green. Let me just see if I have any green further down. Looks like I don't have any green that's further down. But I did notice that I have the branch color here. So we're not going to be using the branch color anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that long yarn end and make it a small loose yarn end, because we don't need that color anymore. And we may use this color somewhere else. If you wanted to use a brown eye, you could make this the color of the brown eye if you wanted to. So I have quite a bit left over. I'll put this over here in case I need it again. And then I need more of the emerald green, so I'm going to bring in the emerald green. And then tie a knot. And then now I have 1 of the green and the white, so I'm going to go ahead and color change to the white. And then it's back to the green because I have 1 of white and 1 green. So it's real easy to tell when you need to color change. So now I have 1 of the emerald green, 1 of the dark brown. Now I'm at the red. Dark brown. Red. Black. And then back to the white. So we just finished row 25. So now you should be able to finish row 26, 27, 28, and 29, as well as 30. So go ahead and finish all the way up to row 30, and then come back and I'll work row 31 with you, which is where the eyeball is. So we just finished row 25, and then you're going to work all the way up to row 30. Complete row 30 and then come back. So I just finished row 27, and I just wanted to show you I'm also keeping the edges straight. So here on my little craft board you can see the line, and the edge of my little block is lining up perfectly, and it's also lining up perfectly on the opposite side. So sometimes I just kind of stretch it a little bit, just slightly. I don't want to open up any gaps, and I'm just keeping track of the sides, kind of blocking it as I work. So this is what mine looks like so far. It's looking good. And I just finished row 27, so now I'm moving up to row 28. And then if I run into anything else that I want to show you, I'll come back, but I plan on working row 31 with you. So I just remembered that earlier on I was supposed to tie off that black yarn, so I went back and just tied that off. And I'm on my row 28. It's coming along nicely. So now I'm on row 31. This is how my work is looking so far. It's turning out really good. So row 31 on the graph is where we're going to be making the eyeball. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to work row 31 with you. So for row 31, go ahead and pull up your white loops, the number of white loops that you need. For mine, I ran out of yarn at the beginning. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to bring up a loop and join if that happens for you as well. So what I do, and this also is what you would do if you need another color. So if you need another color for the first loop, I'm trying to find my end here. Oh, I need to cut. So I'm going to cut the yarn because I need it for later on. For when I get to the second white portion. So now, and this is what you would do even if you needed a new color. Say you had a different color on the end and you need a different color on the loop. You would just bring up the loop with your hook. In this case, I happen to need the white color again. And then you just take and tie a knot with the two loose yarn ends. And that's how you would join for a new color, or in my case I ran out. Then you would have whatever color that you need to start with for your new row. And again, mine happened to be the white that I needed. So go ahead, bring up the number of white loops that you need for row 31. So I have my 11 loops for the white yarn on my hook, and then I don't need the orange yarn anymore, so I can go ahead and tie a knot with my orange yarn. And then I'm going to go ahead and just trim the orange yarn, save it just in case. And then over here, I'm going to see how many I need for the black. So here, I'm going to need 3 of the black colored yarn before I get to the eye. And then you would just bring up whatever color that you want for your eye. So if you want a brown colored yarn, so you could use your dark brown colored yarn, or if you like the branch colored yarn, you could use that lighter. I'm going to use the lighter one just to show you. And you could use blue, green, whatever you want for the color of your eye. So then you just go into the next loop and just bring up the yarn. And then you would tie a knot. In this case, I'm not going to tie a knot because I'm going to be removing it. And I'm going to show you a different way that you could use for the eye as well. But if you are going to be using yarn for the eye, then you would just bring up the number of loops that you need. And then I need the black color. And then that would be your eyeball. And then this is what your eyeball would look like when you're finished. Now for mine, I'm going to be using a safety doll eye. So this is an option if you don't want to use yarn for the eye. I'm going to show you how you can make the face without the eyeball using the yarn. We're going to be using a safety doll eye instead. So for those of you that are making the yarn eyeball, this is, you would just continue the rest of the row the same way. But for those of you that want to use a safety doll eye, like I'm going to be using for this one, then you wouldn't join the color for the eye with the yarn. So I'm going to put this aside in case I need that color later. And I'm going to show you the eyeballs that I'm using. So for my safety doll eyes, I have several different places I like to order them online. 6060eyes.com. This is a new safety eye site that I found. It's called glasseyesonline.com. And I ordered some of the 10mm, and this one is the green. It's really pretty. So just going to show you so you can appreciate the look. So this is the one that I'm going to be using. And what I like about these safety doll eyes is you can also sew. So if you wanted to sew, oh, sorry about that. So if you wanted to sew the safety doll eye in place as well as use a safety latch, you can do that. So I like that extra feature that glasseyesonline.com has. So I'm using the 10mm green. They also have different colors. This is the blue one that they have, but I'm not going to put blue on this one. So the backing is really nice too. I like the metal backings or the plastic. I don't like the rubber one. So I tend to like to order the metal or the plastic, and both 6060eyes.com and glasseyesonline.com have that for their safety doll eyes. The first time that I used safety doll eyes on my Tunisian crochet was with my Wizard of Oz cowl. So you can go look on www.helenmaycrochet.com. You can go to my Wizard of Oz cowl. I have free graph downloads, but you can also see pictures of what it would look like with the graph with the safety doll eyes. It turned out really good, which is why I'm going to use it with this one too. But you can see that the yarn looks good as well. So what I do is, if I'm going to be using the safety doll eye instead of the yarn, then I'm just going to fill in the background with the black. So I'm going to continue with just the black colored yarn. So let me show you on the graph. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black loops on my hook. So here you could see how I have, normally if you're using yarn, you would have only 3 black loops, and then you would put 2 loops with the color that you want for the eye, and then 1 more with the black. But since I'm using a safety doll eye, I'm going to make them all 6 the black colored yarn. And now I'm going to put 2 of the red, and the rest is going to be the white colored yarn. So now I'm going to get 2 of the red, And then the rest is the white colored yarn. So go ahead, finish putting the white colored yarn onto your Tunisian crochet hook. So now you should be able to finish going back across and counting. And I'm going to go ahead and let you finish the rest of the rows on your own. So we're not going to place, if you're using the safety doll eye, don't place it yet. We'll place that after we're finished with the complete block. So you can set the safety doll eye aside for now. But go ahead, finish the rest of the rows, and then come back. So now I've finished all of the rows, all 40, and you can see how well it turned out. I really like how this one turned out. And this one even turned out even a little bit better than my prototype, which was the first one that I made. And you can see that I was able to keep the edges fairly straight. And then on the other side, I was also able to keep that fairly straight. So with all the multiple color changes, sometimes you'll start to bring in the edges and they'll curl in slightly on both sides. So trying to avoid that, trying to block it, meaning trying to stretch it into more of a block shape, helps. And these clips, I think, really help a lot too. I think that really helped me to keep it more of a square or a rectangle. So now when you finish your last row, I'm going to show you what to do. So now I finished my last row, and then you just finish off, just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and bring the yarn through the loop, and just bring enough yarn through for a loose yarn end, and then just pull that snug down. And now I just want to show you the back of the work. So this is the front, and then here's the back. So you can see the loose yarn ends. I'm just going to double check, make sure I don't have any long loose yarn ends or anything that I didn't tie a knot. And I only have the short loose yarn ends on the back, so everything looks good back there. So now I'm going to flip it over. Now, for those of you that are going to use the safety doll eye, I'm going to go ahead and place the eye now. So for mine, I just placed it close to where the graph is. So in the graph, I had the yarn eye about a stitch in from the black edge here. But this one I have 2 of the vertical stitches before I have my safety doll eye. And then I have, here's 1 row of the black above the safety doll eye. And then I placed my safety doll eye on row 31. So it's on row 31. And I'm really happy with the placement there. And then once you're happy with the placement, you can turn the work over. And then you can place your safety latch onto the back. So here's what it looks like on the front, and then here's what it looks like with the safety latch. So that thing is staying on really well. And then if you want to, there's a hole that you could sew the safety eye in place too, which I really like that feature. But I'm pretty happy with just that, because I'm going to be making a pillow out of mine. Now, the safety doll eye, you're not going to want to set warm things on top of it, so I wouldn't use the safety doll eye if you're using it for a hot pad. Tawashi, you probably could use it as a tawashi. I don't see why you couldn't. Tawashi is like a dishcloth, because you're going to be placing a backing on it for the tawashi. So if you were just using it for a tawashi, that should be fine. And As far as the pillow, that's the main reason why I'm using the safety doll eye, because I'm going to be making a pillow out of this one. And a friend of mine named Sarah said that she may want to even make a wall hanging out of it. So the safety doll eye would work well if you're making a wall hanging too.